08:15 is the time on Christian Nation FM. Good morning to you, all our dear listeners, wherever you're catching us from. Good morning to you, the people of Chizanga, Matero, Kalingalinga, and the surrounding areas of Lusaka. Good morning to you, all our dear followers on Facebook, Christian Nation FM 106.5 Facebook page. Welcome to the Monday edition of Analyze It with Phil. With me, your presenter, Chisalo Philip. It's been quite a while since we analyzed it, but the program remains the same. And this time it has come with more spices. And we shall continue to analyze it together so that we can be able to see on how well we can approach that which affects us within our communities. So come through on this very program and share that breaking stories in your community that you'd love our news desk to cover. As well as let's analyze it together so that we can get an insight on cross-cutting issues affecting our communities. Once more, my name is Chisalo Philip, and I will be with you up until the hour of 9 on Analyze It with Phil. So before we get into the details of this programming, we offer a word of prayer. Let us pray. Our God and our Father, we thank you for making it possible for us to see yet another this beautiful day. We commit all our daily activities into your holy hands. Let you be the one to speak as we communicate to your people. We make this prayer through your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. And today on the program, I'm joined by a social economist commentator. This name is now familiar to you, our dear listeners, right here on Christian Nation FM. So in the studios today, we have Mr. Kelvin Chisanga. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Philip. Good morning, dear listeners.
Right. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation once more to be with us on Analyze It with Phil, so that we can see on how well we can be able to analyze the issues that are actually affecting our communities. And on the program today, we are discussing the depreciation of the Kwacha and its impact on low-income households and SMEs. These are small, medium enterprises. So before we get into the details of this programming, Mr. Chisanga, I just wanted to find out from you, as of course of business yesterday, how was the Kwacha faring?
Okay, maybe I'll have to take you a little bit back.
Okay.
Apparently, we can focus on looking at the overall performance from last week, Monday, and also up to the end of the week, Friday. And also we'll talk on how it has been working out during the course of trading pattern. Yeah. Apparently, it so happened that Kwacha, starting from Monday last week, it has been trading on a very bad shape, in that it recorded some losses in terms of value, and also it has been continually going on the downside of movement, owing to the serious sustained demand that is actually being experienced by the agriculture and energy sectors. Yes, so it's a trend that has been taking place for some time now. If maybe you reflect back, maybe way back in August, of course, it also goes back to the way it has performed overall in this year. In this year, Kwacha has been very unprecedented in the way it has performed in terms of losses. If you allow me to maybe reflect back again in around May and also March, around that time, it had some effect in that it received a serious depreciation level to a percentage of about 28.5%, owing to issues to do with the devaluation effect, in that there was a sovereignty effect that happened, and also there was a devaluation effect that also occurred. And also, if you consider it also from the other hand, we've actually had a backlocking of COVID-19 as well, which brought about the low pattern of trading system in the country and globally. Yeah, so or, what I would say is that if you reflect currently from last week, we've been having some bit of fluctuation here and there. It closed at 20 Kwacha 55 ngwe to actually 20 Kwacha 60 ngwe on bid and offer respectively.
Okay, thank you so much. And talking about the depreciation of the kwacha, what does it mean to a lay person? Because I heard when I move in the community, maybe I go to buy something, and then I'm told it's because of the trends in terms of the kwacha against the dollar. And then we've got the people that do not really understand what it means when they are told to say, no, there is a slight increase in prices because of the dollar. What does it mean to a lay person, the depreciation of a kwacha?
Okay, depreciation of kwacha is basically the increase of value of goods and services. In that we all know that Zambia is an import-driven country. Our balance of trade between export and import, it's seeming to be not balanced up, in that we import most of the commodities, even issues to do with essential goods as well as intermediate goods that are used in finishing up certain products. So because of the situation where we have a situation, maybe I can give you my dearest example. Our nation is not able to produce even a toothpick. So toothpick is being imported into Zambia. So you can imagine from that situation where you need dollar to actually clear that toothpick or that importation process or custom process. So in the end now you find that because there is an imbalance between exchange and import, I mean between the import and export. So you find that we are importing more and exporting less. Because of that imbalance, it triggers now the cost to go up. And not only that, if you look at the concept of import, we are that now we talk of importing about over 90% of goods in the nation. So obviously using the medium of exchange, which is dollar, to actually convert into kwacha system and all that. So in the end, you find that the kwacha becomes weaker. And the weaker it becomes, it now triggers the high cost of goods, of import on most consumable goods. So that's how it translates to be. So basically, in a nutshell, I would say kwacha becomes weaker when we have a lot of import. Because when we have a lot of import, it means we need a lot of dollars to actually equivalent to the requirements on the actually it even triggers now what we call importer demand, which actually is currently happening as we speak right now.
Okay, interesting. And talking about Zambia importing goods about 90%, and there is a campaign that is going on at the moment which is called Buy Z campaign,
yes, sure,
which is being piloted by Mr. Evans Kazonga. And talking about importation, that campaign actually tells Zambians to say, let us buy Zambian products.
Sure.
Don't you think as Zambians as well, we are contributing to weakening the local currency, in as much as we prefer to purchase foreign products as opposed to buying our own products?
Yes, it's absolutely a collective measure in that it actually speaks in that direction, where if we actually get accustomed or acclimatized with the issues of foreign-based product or commodities, it means now we are weakening our local market. Yes, so I concur, or I would love to go for, that campaign which actually calls for local production, because with local production, we're able now to sustain your local economy. And, it also goes back to stating that a strong Kwacha actually commands strong local economy. So if we look at that basis of trying to inactivate local contents in terms of policies, it will really trigger a very good, stable economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for that explanation, Mr. Kelvin Chisanga. So today in the studios, we are discussing on Analyze It with you. We are looking at the impact of the continued depreciation of the Kwacha on low-income households as well as SMEs. So in the studios today, I'm joined by a social economist, Mr. Kelvin Chisanga. Right, so Mr. Chisanga, one thing that I would love to find out, in line with our topic of discussion today, the continued depreciation of the local currency. What are some of the impacts does it have on low-income households, looking at the fact that we are not yet a middle-income country?
Well, it's got a couple of effects that I would actually have to stipulate here. First of all, if you look at it from the long-term or short-term basis, obviously one would say that the depreciation of Kwacha or instability of Kwacha usually poses the threats on the local economy as the first basis, before it goes to the consumer. And if you look at also the component of the consumer side of things, at household level, obviously we see that when they have disposable income, gets to be affected by the increase of prices in most of the commodity goods. So that's one of the elements also. And not only that, also if you also consider it on the other side of things, the cost of living also is triggered from there as well, and it also has a very serious bearing effect on livelihood as well as household standards. Then many other factors also, but on the positive side, I would say that it puts government in shape to look at ways of galvanizing ideas of how they're going to, diversify the economy. But though that comes on the long-term side of things, but again also there are so many ways that we can also, try to cushion this. As one of them, issues to do with the local production.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And not too long ago, you predicted a surge in an increase on the fuel side,
Okay. Yeah, sure.
as well as the depreciation of the Kwacha. What are some of the economic indicators that maybe we, as a lay person, have to understand to say, okay, these can actually trigger maybe an increase in these commodity, or what were you really looking at when you made that prediction?
Obviously, if you look at economic fundamentals, or even just maybe looking from the currency, or rather the primary currency performance, and also in relation to what is driving the depreciation right now, we know that from the time when we had COVID-19, we had about 3 sectors that have actually driven the devaluation of Kwacha. That's the health, where medical staff were being imported, and also the issues to do with agriculture, where the inputs are being also imported, and also we're looking at energy, where fuel is taken into the nation. Obviously, we see that the advent of COVID, we are now looking at a market opening up, which we have witnessed in all the market environments. But obviously, we've seen that currently what is taking shape actually is the energy sector as well as the agriculture. But of course, we know that we've got a refinery system in Zambia, which is in Den, and we know that in Den for almost like 8 months has not been, in full swing in terms of production. So the players on the market were actually busy trying to, using these tankers and those sort of things into the nation. And we know that obviously when fuel is being imported in the nation, not few times from the time they import, there is always just that surge that happens. Yeah, so it's something that is a common factor. Though sometimes it's rare cases that you find that fuel remain constant. Yeah, not changed or anything. So what we are trying to see is that the Kwacha hasn't been so stable, and when they are buying the petroleum, obviously they are pegging against the prevailing currency level in terms of forex rate. So the commodity, when it comes in, it's supposed to reflect the almost the exact cost that they're using to import. Yeah, so that's the reason why it has to be comparable in terms of trade patterns.
Okay.
Yes.
And interesting. And you've been a specialist and a socio-economic specialist, and we appreciate that you're able to predict maybe the surge or an increase in some commodity. But do you just end on the prediction, or maybe you also offer solutions that can be able to prevent such increases?
There are quite a number of quantifiable solutions that can be offered, and also there are a lot of variable factors that are under or within the controllable variables, where we've got a leeway. If maybe something happens like that, we know that you can tap petroleum product from Angola. We can find a way of how we can, though it's a long-term strategy that we can employ into. Yeah, but obviously we've got local solutions. Not only that, also we can also try to lobby government intervention in the policy framework. Yeah, so because of us being imported driven country, we need to look at local context policies that can look around industrialization. If we have a very strong and robust local industrialization policy, it can actually help to mitigate certain effects that we normally have on the currency.
Okay, so our dear listeners, this is the point where we open the phone lines. You can come through and be part of this program. The number that can get you through to the studio is 0960248915. 0960248915 or 0777760811. That is 0777760811. Today on Analyze It with Phil, we are discussing the depreciation of the Kwacha and its impact on low-income households and SMEs. In the studios today, I'm joined by a social economist, Mr. Kelvin Chisanga. So the number is 0960248915 or 0777760811. Those are the two numbers that can get you through to the studios. Okay, so as we wait for our dear listeners to come through, Mr. Chisanga, I just wanted to find out how can the SMEs be able to keep their businesses afloat in the wake of where we experience a devaluation in the Kwacha? How can they survive?
Well, they need to look at a longer-term strategic policies that they need to actually enact within their operations. One of the key factors is that they have to be futuristic in their business. They have to, cast shadows. For example, if they know that this commodity is usually used by their clients, or it's one of the rubricator in their business, they should be able to at least find some safe measures in terms of safeguarding the product in the local holding as stock holding is concerned. And also they should be aware where they should find some local ingredients if it's possible. Yeah, and other than, for example, if you've got you've got a product that you always produce, like I can give a typical example of a Trade King type of product. If Trade King is producing certain product and that product, the key ingredients comes from South Africa, I'm sure they should be able to go into a contractual arrangement of some sort with some companies out there and ensure that they peg a price which will be constant for a good period of time. Same applies with a small player or small scale business out there. If they know that the product that they normally use as one of the key component is something that subjects itself to fluctuation of the currency, they should be able to find some safeguarding measures. Then the other concept is that we can also use a different model by looking at an alternative source within the local system. Yeah, so those are the issues that can be looked at. And the other part is that those that have got a good accounting system, they can also go and have a dollar-dominated account for transaction, which also can lie pair with their operations. So those are issues that also can be looked at. Yeah, and then there are others that also get involved into, even companies, despite having a core business, they can also go into buying of forex products, of forex dollar, and probably save, so that even when there is a need, they are able to translate to get that dollar and buy something that almost equivalent to what they have, so that they don't lose so much.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So phone lines remain open. On Analyze It today, we looking at the depreciation of the Kwacha and its impact on low household incomes, as well as SMEs. So the number is 1960248915. 0777760811. Come through, make that contribution. And one more thing that I wanted to find out, Mr. Chisanga, from you is that most incomes remain unchanged despite the Kwacha depreciating. What are some of the adjustments that people can be able to make at household level?
Well, that's a very, very good question, actually. I was actually even trying to look at it in a different way before I answer your question.
Okay.
We all know that even when it comes to civil servant, the wage bill has not changed for some time. And despite the changes that we have received, because right now as we speak, we are talking of 33% loss in terms of our Kwacha value against the US dollar. Yeah, so the only way they can mitigate such impact is by reducing your expenditure and also trying to see alternative local product that you can go for.
So reducing your expenditures on products such as which product?
Okay, for example, let me just give you a typical example. If I always buy, I'll give you a typical example. Okay. I know Mazoi is not made in Zambia. It comes from Zimbabwe. Obviously, when importing and all that, Mazoi will be a little bit pricey. Maybe it can even be 35 Kwacha then you go for first drink, which is about 30 kwacha. So the difference in 5 kwacha also speaks volumes. And also, if you've been going for Protex, I'm not trying to demarcate or disservice other product, but I'm just trying to give you a scenario.
Okay.
If Protex costs a little bit more, maybe 15 kwacha, you go for Rifebo, which is costing 13 kwacha. So that kind of adjustment can actually really help you. And also the other thing that you just have to be also conscious of your expenditure, and you need to also look at various market offers. There could be some people like an Indian shop or a Zambian or whatever it is. Also make some partnership with the suppliers of goods. For your groceries, you make sure that you've got sort of like some sound agreement with some suppliers. So in that sense, it even makes it easier for your life to actually get accustomed.
Okay. And what are some of the business opportunities that somebody can? What are some of the business opportunities that somebody can be able to see in the wake of where we're experiencing the devaluation of the kwacha?
Well, as I mentioned, devaluation triggers optional offers. You can look at what is most imported and consumed in Zambia and try to, go for a local production of the similar type. You can also use an opportunity, if you've got enough money, to start trading in this currency. This local market, forex market. You can also earn some money from there, although it requires a different model altogether, unless you've got good substantial money like those that have operated bureaus and who are still operating. Then the other concept is that you can also take advantage of the depreciation, in that you can give alternative option to the market out there by engaging, of course, local sourcing. So if you identify that, for example, something has been produced so much, and you identify, a corrective suppliers of some sort who offer almost a similar product, then start pushing for that. It can be a good thing also to venture into.
All right. (106.5) It is a Christian Nation FM, the only radio station that prays for the nation, and you're listening to Analyze It with Phil, the only program on Christian Nation FM that gives you an insight on cross-cutting issues, as well as gives you an opportunity to share breaking stories in your communities that you'd love our news desk to cover. So you can come through on the program, make that contribution, as well as share that breaking story. The number is 0960 248915. 0960 248915. 07 77760811. Come through on the program and get that insight on how well you can be able to manage that disposable income in the wake where we are experiencing a depreciation in terms of the local currency. In the studios today, I'm joined by Mr. Chisanga, and he's given us good insights, and he's actually indicated that you can see on how well you can be able to spend, and some of the business opportunities that you can be able to tap into during this period that the kwacha has depreciated. And Mr. Chisanga, we've seen posts on various social media platforms. Some people are jubilating that the kwacha has continued to depreciate, and looking at the fact that we've got a certain segment of society that can be able to manage, even if the kwacha was supposed to be at 100 kwacha against $1. And as a people, from a Christian perspective, we say, I cannot like to see my brother, my neighbor, suffer. But there are some people that are actually jubilating that the kwacha has continued to depreciate. How can we be able to arrest the continued depreciation of the kwacha as a Zambian people, as a people?
Okay, I think, each and every thing that happened has got an effect of bad or good. Yeah. So for us to arrest the depreciation or continuous depreciation or instability of kwacha, we need to modulate a very strong export-driven policy.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we can look at policy formulation which can speak into, trying to increase the volume of trade for export, that's one of the number one factor which can actually help us. And not only that, also, secondly, we can look at trying to enhance or foster local industrialization strategy or policy that can speak now to bring about local activities.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we mitigate the issues of kwacha depreciation by reducing the import, because the import level has been so much in comparison to export, as I have already explained. Yeah. So if we are able to look at a modality of trying to manufacture some of the essential commodities that are usually consumed in the nation, that can really help us. Yeah. Then not only that, also, as you mentioned, on the good side, yes, people can be jubilating when the kwacha goes up, because actually depreciates. Yeah, they have got businesses that are dollar-dominated businesses. I'll give you a typical example of a person who's working for...
So people are being blinded by those that are actually...
Let me give you an example before I lose sight of the point.
Okay.
If I will give my example. I have worked with a company that was paying me in dollars. For obviously, if I'm getting something like $350 or $3,500 or $3,500, if you look at that translation, it's quite huge money. I'm talking of almost like 50,000 kwacha or somewhere there. Yeah. So those that are jubilating, they are dollar-dominated, maybe employees or business that are dollar-dominated. And not only that, also, there are some activities also that happens. Even people that are trading, or, using dollar most of the times, they jubilate. Yeah, so that's a concept which is there. So people that are working for UN, people that are working for international companies, yes, they get to be happy when the kwacha depreciate.
And some are just blind followers.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chisanga. And lastly, before we go, I just wanted to find out from you, we are getting into the farming season.
Sure.
And the government has put up initiatives such as the Farmer Input Support Program.
Okay.
And they've got a threshold on how much maybe input somebody can be able to get under FACEP.
Sure.
And looking at the fact that we are experiencing the depreciation of the kwacha, and we might see an increase in terms of fertilizer prices and other inputs, looking at the previous farming season. And don't you think if this trend of the kwacha at the moment continues, you are going to have it's going to trigger we are going to have a negative impact on the food basket next year?
Philip, before I even answer you that question, as I hinted earlier on in my preamble, I mentioned to say that kwacha's continuous instability poses a serious threat to the local economy. That's point number one. If you look at maybe I can also just give you a typical scenario right now as we speak. We are looking at our 2021 budget, which is 119.6 billion Zambian kwacha.
Yeah.
That's a big figure which we have as a budget for next year. Then last year we had 86.2 or something like that billion kwacha. I will tell you to say, if you get this 19.6 billion kwacha and 96, then the 96 is bigger than the 100 and the thing, if you were to do the comparison, because we are talking of, if you translate in dollar terms, the 186, as we speak, it's standing at 6 billion US dollars. Then the 86.2 billion, if you look at the way it was translated last time, when it was in dollar form by that time, around this time in the same period, we will talk of it to be 8.227 billion, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So in essence, we've seen that there is a devaluation from the national budget structure in terms of dollar terms. Yeah, so that speaks a lot. Now, when it comes to the issues of FISIP, you intend to say we spend a lot of money. Yes, under economic affairs or under the public service, all this actually triggers an increase because the budget was made against the prevailing situation.
Okay, so I was trying to give you a scenario like I get a limited number of inputs.
Okay.
Then I want to grow more. Then I have to buy my own inputs using my own money. And looking at the fact that the dollar has continued to depreciate, don't you think it is going to have a negative impact on the food basket next year?
Yes, it will, definitely. It's something that speaks, whatever is happening is a mere reflection of what will happen in terms of harvest. Because if I am putting in a lot of costs in my farming input, obviously, depending on how things will stand, the cost of output would definitely reflect in that it will have an increase, and I will spend more when I'm doing the farming process. So, as we speak right now, the factors that are driving the performance of the Kwacha right now, as we speak, it's the agriculture. That's the import of most of the commodities, input and those sort of things, and also the energy sector. So these two are actually complementing the negative effect that is happening currently in the Kwacha-dollar relationship.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chisanga. And we are not wishing that the Kwacha continues to depreciate so that we can meet again and come and discuss about it. But we are looking forward to having you in the studios
sure.
Next time. So just before you go, I just wanted to get maybe your appeal to business owners looking at the fact that some prices for some commodities still remain unchanged despite the depreciation in terms of the Kwacha. What is your message to the traders out there when it comes to exploiting their customers?
Well, I think trading should have also a sense of human face. We do not need to just make abnormal profits because the situation is actually prevailing. If anything, what should even happen is that there must be a very stiff consideration in that when we are selling product that we are selling to various market environments, we should also look at the ecosystem in terms of how they perform, the economy is performing, because you cannot just say no, they'll buy, they have got money. I think there is also a need to be anticipative of the other side, to say, okay, if I was on the other side, how do I feel? Because you can't just put a abnormal profit, where you are putting 50% of the total value from maybe the time when Kwacha triggers. It does not make sense. Even if your product is an essential good or an intermediate good, it should not just speak to you to say, I can put 80% or 50%. I think there's a need to look at the human face. Yeah. So the bottom line is that also there is a need for us to look at local solutions as well. I think that speaks so much volume. If you see that the product that you've been using has an increased effect, there is a need for us to look at alternative offer. I think that also leads to stabilize the market, because if there is high demand of a product also keeps commanding high prices. But if we look at a possibility of looking at an alternative offer, I think that really speaks well for us to look at stabilizing the market prices.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chisanga. I would have loved us to go on and on and on, so that we can be able to see on what solutions that we can be able to give to our dear listeners out there. But looking at time, we have to go, and quickly in your last remarks.
Okay, myself, Captain speaking, I think there's a need for us to actually widen up the market in that our expectation should not just be on the agriculture to diversify. Also, we need to diversify education as part of the solution in the composite of national diversity strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously, if you look at education, can come in to complement in whatever is happening in the nation, and it's out of education that solution are being drawn. Yeah, so the other part that we should also look at other sectors actually to come in as an equal balance to help us move from a total dependence of on the mining sector, because obviously we have depended so much on the mining as a mainstay. Yeah, so it's high time we even now look at government to come up with a solution of maybe call for a national endeavor where they can, look at various composite of economic factors. Not only that, also there is a need for us to look at a issue where we need to look at local content policies, strengthen them, and also ensure that people are empowered with local resources, and also they are looking forward to take things forward. And the other component is that they should be restrictive with customs. If certain goods that are able to be produced in Zambia, I think the ZLI should help us on that component, so that they are able to slap a slightly higher custom, so that we promote the local product here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chisanga. And we hope you, our dear listeners, are taking interest in this program, so that you can be able to see on how well you're going to make expenditure decisions in terms of purchase of commodities, and which business opportunities that you can be able to tap into in the wake of the depreciation or the devaluation of the Kwacha. This has been Analyze with Phil. With me, your presenter, Chisalo Philip. Thank you so much, Mr. Chisanga, for coming.
Thank you.
Hoping to host you once again.
Definitely.
Right. So, to you, our dear listeners, stay tuned to Christian Nation FM. We took you over from Father Lasson Pupa, who was giving us the daily devotion. Then we went into Analyze It with Phil, and this is where we come to the end. Stay tuned if Tembo comes next.
That was Analyze It with Phil, only on 106.5 FM. Christian Nation FM, we pray and inform you.